This is my buddy Juliet, and Juliet is not a big fan of people that she doesn't know petting her. And so in this video, we're going to go over how to introduce yourself to Juliet, or how to interact with her for the first time. Yeah. So I'm using a really high value treat, and this is the only one she'll take out of my hand. Even there, it's a little bit reluctant. That's a pretty big thing, so you shouldn't expect a dog to take treats out of your hand. Also, dogs are particular about who touches them, just like we are. We always think that just because it's a dog, we should just go pet it. That's how we make friends. I don't like random people hugging me, but I like hugs. So it's the same thing. Now, we went over dog consent and cutoff signals off camera. So I'm going to go through some of those so the people who are watching this who weren't here know what to look for. One of her cutoff signals is ducking her head, turning away, or kind of, I think I said cowering, but it kind of goes like this, and her ears flip out and back to the side, and she turns her head to the side. That's her way of saying, no, I disagree, or I'm not on board with what you're doing. So and I'll show you here. So if you watch her head, just like that, that's a cutoff signal. So it's her way of saying no, and she even started moving away. So she has told me that she doesn't want me to pet her, so I'm not trying to do it. I only did it there for the video. So when you come to visit her, you should act like you don't even see her there. Now, even if she comes up to you, doesn't mean she wants you to pet. Especially if she comes over and she's like leaning far away to sniff you, the best thing you do is hold completely still and shut up. Now, we can do things to set our dogs up for success. The Guardians here do a really good job of exercising her. And she was exercised before I came here today, and she's acting very content in the house. When I come into her house, I am invading her space. She didn't invite me here. And so a lot of dogs feel trapped and cornered because there's only one exit or entrance, and this guy is right standing in the middle of it. So when I have dogs like her, I like to actually meet outside. I would have your relative or her friend or whoever it is outside. I would give them probably one of these. I would purchase one of these, give it to them first, and have them out there with it. This is the mini treat pouch from PetSafe. I don't know commission from them, but I've used a whole bunch of these. You can clip it on your leggings or whatever. Open it up, it stays open. Put it full of the Stewart's freeze-dried beef liver. Chop it up a little pea-sized shaped. Put it in there. So now your friends have that, and a nice thing is I can have it here. She lift her head up as soon as you hear that sound. So I can open it like this, and I can get in and get treats as many times as I want. And I can close it really quickly, and nothing's going to get in there. So if you give this to so maybe your friend comes, they buzz you downstairs. You were in an apartment building. You go down there and give them this. Tell them to kind of go maybe next building and just kind of hang out there. Put her on a harness, preferably than a collar. Take her out for a walk. So now sometimes I'll be doing the find it game beforehand. So we're going to throw a treat. Yeah, and then she's giving me some indicators that she thinks I might be trying to trick her. She used to be a street dog. So I throw another one. So as you're walking, you throw these treats as you're walking, as you start getting close to your friend or whoever the new person is. Dogs learn through association. What we try to do is change the dog's emotional response. So treats are like $100 bills, especially if they're these treats. So not a ton, but maybe when we get to 10 feet away from the person, we're throwing them kind of right in front. Then you don't say anything to the person just follows along with you, and you start walking. Now your friend has the treats, and your friend might pull them out. Now again, these are super duper high value treats, so chop them really small, but now your friend maybe drops a treat as you're walking, or throws it in front of her. And she eats the treat, throw another one, keep on walking. When you're walking, you get a lot of varying distractions, and the movement helps her stop focusing on the boogie person. Every once in a while, then I would, after you go a while, I would say, sit. Yes. So she sat there, but you saw that she backed up before she sat near me. That's her way of saying, I don't feel comfortable sitting here, David. I want to sit there. That's okay. So I would have your friend about every 20 paces or so, either tossing a treat or then asking her every 20 paces, let me rephrase it. Don't do it every 20 paces about throwing treats. But you're just kind of walking along. As long as she's walking amicably, you don't have to throw any treats. But every 20 paces or so, your friend should pull out a treat and just be like, sit. And if she doesn't sit, you just keep on walking. Don't drop the treat or give her the treat. Otherwise, I don't have to sit. And after we walk 10, 20 paces, ask again, sit. And then keep on walking. I'm going to do this to lure her a little closer. And then sit, don't do that. Yes, I'm just doing that for this video. Now, I'm feeding her out of my hand. That should not be your goal, and that's going to be hard for them to do. So if she won't take it out of their hand when she sits, they should just say yes and put it on the ground. She licks it up. And all we want to achieve is like a 3 to 6 minute walk outside. We're doing an introduction. We're helping her understand this person's not going to try to touch you. They're not giving you eye contact. And that's something I should go over. So for dogs, A front-facing approach is confrontational. Eye contact is a challenge if they don't know you. Petting a dog on top of the head is the way that dogs interpret as dominating, and leaning over a dog is intimidating. So when your friend is out there, or whoever the person is walking, we're walking together. They're not trying to do anything. Every once in a while they stop and ask her to sit. You can give them a brief eye contact. We just want to see if she's comfortable enough to sit. That's why we're doing that test. We're also doing it to see if she feels that that person is somebody she should listen to. Now, if they've given her a treat or two, they know that they've got the good stuff. She's a little bit more likely to do so. And if she doesn't want to sit, that's totally fine as well, but that tells you she's at this level of trust with this person. So if it's going well, a lot of times I like to actually hand the leash to the other person. The leash should be loose. Do you have a retractable leash or a straight leash?
Straight leash.
Okay, great. So you don't want to have a reactive dog more than 6 feet away from you because just you're asking for trouble. So they're carrying the leash maybe on the halfway point. Have them hold the leash in the building, on the elevator, and even when you come into your house. So they're walking her. Now, I like to start giving treats right outside the door. Ask for a sit. If she sits, yes, give her a treat. As you walk through the door, have another treat in your hand. The instant you walk in the door, sit, yes, treat. That transition from in and out is really difficult, so you want to give the dog treats right away. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a whole bunch of treats. I'm going to have you, the camera over here. So a lot of us, when we have a dog, and you just look at me, but just come over here so you can see both of us together. So a lot of us, when we have a dog, we want to do this when we're tossing treats. We just want to toss the treats towards us. So I'm luring the dog to come to me. The problem with that, that's not her genuine intentions. She's only doing it to get a payment. Now, if she's staying, a lot of us take it and go away. So when we deal with dogs that are usually much more reactive here. So when your friend comes in and sits down, they've got these high-value treats. When she looks at them, which I'll wait for you, yes. What did I do? I threw the treat behind her. Yes. I'm waiting for eye contact. I'm marking her looking me in the eye. I'm not doing anything. Yes. Now what we should see is her starting to come a little closer to me on her own accord. Yes. But I'm throwing the treats away because she doesn't want to get that close to me yet. Yes. So I'm giving her what she wants, more distance, but look at that. She took a step towards me. It was a small one. But looking at me is now getting something good for her. If she chooses to come to me, if she takes a step, then I would say yes and toss another treat. And I could toss them in between too, but that's normally all people do. I want her to want to come towards me. So yes, and then I throw it behind her. So now you're using a lot of treats for this. Again, these are the super high value treats. You probably shouldn't, this is not a great exercise to do this with, so I don't want to do a ton with her because we're going to do some other stuff for outside. But your friend is going to throw the treat behind her on the right side, left side. It doesn't have to be back and forth. But basically, you can see I'm much more interesting to her now because I was just giving her treats, but I'm not asking her to do anything she doesn't want. I'm not trying to pet her. I'm not trying to talk to her. Now, when I'm standing, I'm more authoritative. When I'm sitting, I'm less authoritative. Dogs, a front-facing approach is confrontational. A sideways approach is more approachable. And so what you want to do is try to, if you do want to try to get to the point where you're going to feed her a treat out of your hand, if I go like this, see how she's not coming? Let's see if she'll do it this way. This is the part where you make me look like I know what I'm doing. Well, I'll reward a sit because that's doing a little something for me. But a lot of times the dog is going to feel more comfortable approaching sideways. So I hold my hand there, and if she does want to come take the treat, she licked the treat off my hand, I would not move my hand, I leave my hand there. Usually they come back and sample your hand a second time, and now they're getting to smell me a little bit better. Now, she took a step towards me. All right, so now licking and chewing release oxytocin and serotonin in a dog's brains. These are the feel-good hormones that make dogs feel good. And so licking and chewing are great activities that I like to couple with a new guest or something. So a lick mat is a silicone mat that you can spread cream cheese or peanut butter on. And it usually has suction cups that you can put on the floor. So I want to position a place, and I'd probably have your guest, the problem with your lovely home, but you only have the L-shaped couch. If your friends are sitting on the couch, she has a choice. Either I can be ostracized or I have to deal with being close to somebody that I don't want to be close to. So bringing this out for your guest and letting your guest sit here so she can move away gives her the ability to feel more relaxed. Also, is an anxiety shake. So if your dog is stressed and you see him shaking off, I would say yes, marker word, and I scratch the butt a little bit. That's like for us. And so if she's doing that, that's a good thing, that she's decompressing a little bit. Now, ideally, we don't want to have our first visit be too long. So in a perfect world, what I'd love to do is maybe, and sometimes I'll have the person like, you text them when you're writing your lobby and have them grab like 5 treats and make a treat trail to where they're at. So that put 5 treats and they're standing 5 feet away. So you lead her up to it and make it a straight line so they can discern that pattern. She gets a treat, she gets a treat, she gets a treat, she gets a treat. Who's this guy? I'm in a pretty good mood. I just got all these great treats, like 5 or 6 treats about a foot apart. Then you start walking together, do all the stuff I described earlier. So then when you come in, maybe she has her dog bed right there. Maybe I put the lick mat right there in front of the dog bed. She can lay on the lick mat, and while she's laying on it, she's looking at me. We're releasing the feel-good endorphins. She's having a positive emotional experience with the person, and the person, again, is not trying to pet or mess with her. Now, for dogs, if I get up and move around, that's going to make her more on edge. When I'm seated, she's going to be more relaxed because it looks like I'm more, standing is more temporary, transitory. So if your friend has to get up to go to the bathroom or something like that, I would have your partner or you, maybe you give her, hold out a treat to her nose, and then your friend gets up and goes to the bathroom. And as soon as your friend stands up, you release the treat, then she walks away. Now, sometimes I'll do free treating. As your friend's walking back, I'm giving her, whoever's with her is giving her treats. Because when she barks or lunges, she wants the thing to go away. She wants more distance. This is called counter conditioning. So now when the person approaches, I'm getting these delicious treats. When the person walks away, the treats stop. So we're countering what the dog wants and trying to change her emotional response to when so-and-so walks in the room, I'm getting a whole bunch of treats. Ideally, we like to keep these visits short. So in a perfect situation, is the relative that you mentioned, is she gonna stay here? Okay, so if you could, if you're gonna have somebody spend the night, but even if not, I would do the greeting outside, then go for a little bit of a mini walk. And sometimes I've had people like, okay, we're gonna keep on going this way. You go, we kind of work a range so that we can run into that person 2 or 3 times on a walk. And then basically come inside and maybe you grab your stuff and then you leave. So she has a shorter exposure to them. A lot of times, I've been here for a lot longer, she's done actually pretty well. But a lot of times having a person in your house for too long, the dog gets kind of like a house guest that won't leave. You're like, get out, I want to unbutton my pants and lay down on the couch again. And so having somebody here for too long can be overwhelming. So maybe you do the walk, come inside, you put your clothes, change your clothes or whatever it is. She's here for 10 minutes and then you go out to lunch or to drinks, you come back in, meet again, have her outside, you come grab her, go for a potty walk, and a treat trail. It's just, holy cow, we're gonna run into this person again, and I get good treats. Now we've had a second exposure on the same visit because you guys went out to have some cocktails or drinks on Main Street. That's right, it's just for you guys, it's not a big deal. And so we have that positive exposure, and then she can come in and spend a little bit of time there. Again, ignoring her. As a guest, your job is to not pet her, not talk to her, not try to interact with her. If she comes to you, you're just gonna hold still, and now they're calling me. You're gonna hold still, and then maybe give them a treat or something like that. The person can give them a treat afterwards. So if she goes and sniffs the person, then she gets a high value treat from you after she walks away. So that bravery is rewarded. But again, if the person, it's really important the person doesn't try to pet her. And if you have friends that don't listen, have those friends come later. Have your relatives and people who listen to you first and establish the behavior that you want. Then you can work up to the people who don't listen to you. And watch for those cutoff signals, and we'll come up with a signal for you. So if I just say, if I cough, that means you should stop interacting with her. So if I'm trying to pet her or whatever it is, which they probably shouldn't do, until she's coming up to them, which I'm guessing is probably gonna be 2 or 3 visits. Have you guys noticed an amount of time before she warms up, or is it just never?
Hasn't been.
Okay, so this game allows us to interact. So now the guest is the provider of good stuff, but at a range that she feels comfortable with. Does she know how to catch?
Not really.
If you want to try to play teach her to catch, I love playing catch with guests. Because eventually it's closer and closer, she's snagging the grits. But the reason they don't catch is because it hits their nose and then they lick it off the ground. Mm-hmm. So if you want to practice catch, I would have one of you here, one of you right next to her, and I go, and you see her head get up. I don't go 1, 2, see how she's tracking it? I just do 1 toss, I try to make a toss so good that it hits the tip of her nose. And hits the floor. If it does, you pick it up and give it back to me. The only way she gets the treat is by snacking it out of the air. Now, sometimes I'll kind of telegraph one where I'll be like, come here. I'll be like, kind of emulating the arc that it takes. But I've taught a number of dogs to catch this way, and this is a great way for your guests to come in and your guests can play catch. It's a fun game for her, and at first she's 10 feet away, then 8 feet, 6 feet, eventually she's coming up to them. I would say, does she ever like jump up on your shins or climb up
Yeah.
on your shins when she
Yeah.
wants attention from you?
Yeah.
So I would wait for that sort of interaction, and then if you think, and you guys are probably the best judge, say, okay, I think it's okay to try. They can hold their hand out without looking at her. Now we went over hand targeting at the beginning of the session. It's one of the great exercises because it is a consent exercise. So I'd like you guys to practice that. Eventually you can play it together. So you say smash, she comes over and touches your nose, then you go over smash, so she's bouncing back and forth between the two of you. You want to get to the point where she can do that really easily with both of you. That's a good reminder. Thank you. We'll go over that next. And then when your guest comes in, you guys start playing the game. After a while, your guest does. Does she come over and touch her nose to the guest? Gets a treat. If she doesn't want to, then you guys go back and forth. It might be 2 or 3 visits, but that's an indicator to let me know, hey, I wouldn't try to pet her until she come over and touch her nose to my hand first. And even then I would go don't sneak it in. If you're gonna pet her, make sure she knows that you're trying to do it. And again, don't pet her on top of the head. Pet her under her chin or on her chest. But if she offers any cutoff signal, immediately, if you're reaching to pet her and she goes to the other side, pull your hand back. The more you do that, the more she's like, this person's listening to me, so I can trust them a little bit more. Now let's look at her body mechanics. She's laying down, which is an indication she feels more comfortable because she can't, it takes a couple moves to go to run. Well, who's she pointed at? Directly at me. So front facing is confrontational. So if the dog doesn't trust you, it's gonna keep its nose on you. Eventually, if she starts turning more sideways to me, or even turning her head, that's kind of the beginning, I'm feeling more comfortable, more confident. If she comes over and she sits with her back to me, that makes her real vulnerable. That's a really good sign that I feel comfortable. Now she's coming near me just because of, I think, the treats we were doing earlier. But again, if your friend comes over and playing this game, it might take 2 or 3 visits, and eventually she's coming up to your friend, and your friend can give a treat out of her hand. And we're gonna go at her pace, and that's the most important thing. A lot of us, we go at our pace, and we force the dog into doing something it doesn't want to do. I can do something like this, where I dropped one to lure her here, and that was too much for her. Now, I don't like doing this very much. I'm doing it with her because I know she's not a bite risk for me. I've had a lot of dogs that have this sort of problem and then get the treat and then they feel trapped and they bite the person. So if you're watching this and you're not associated with this family, and your dog might bite someone, don't have them doing that sort of thing. But after a while, I can smell David's got those great treats. He's not listening. He's listening to me. He's not trying to pet me. He's not dominating me. He's not doing intimidating things. She's lingering. Her legs are underneath her. She's got fidelity of movement. She looked at her buddy and gave a little tail wag, but her body is not stiff. This is a pretty relaxed, comfortable. How do her eyes look? You want to say her name?
Juliet.
But you see when she started walking, she started increasing distance around me. It's okay, I don't take it personal. But if you start seeing her walking with more distance, that's her way of telegraphing, saying, I'm not at that point in my relationship with David, and that's okay. We have this instant gratification culture that we think everything's got to be right away. It doesn't. So having shorter, more frequent visits is going to help, and you might find after 3 visits or 5 visits, this person now, she's more comfortable with. Now, I'm a man. Men and children are hardest for dogs. Women are usually easiest. I think part of it is the nurturing nature of motherhood makes you a little bit more patient and nurturing, where men are quicker to correct, I don't say punish, but yeah, frankly. And so you might find that it's easier for her to deal with women versus men. But I've seen also dogs the other way, that they're more comfortable with men than women. It's not a defining deal. But see how right now she's sniffing the ground? She's not staring at me. If she's just staring at the person and she's snapping her head around, that's an illustration there's cortisol in her blood. The best thing that person can do is hold still. I'm talking loud, I'm jerking my hands around, she's like, I don't care. I've been here 2 hours and I haven't tried to pet her once. She feels, and I listen to her cutoff signals because of that, she's confident in me. So, so a sign for your guest, if you're a guest and you're watching this video, when she comes over and lingers, that means you're doing all the right things. Don't push it, don't ruin it by trying to reach over and pet her and create that sort of a scenario where you just undid a lot of the great work that you put in before. It'll come, little by little. All right, can we get you to come back in the shop to sign off? I promise I'll just leave one right there. There we go. Well, this is my buddy Juliet, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that's a little bit aloof or fearful of meeting new people.